Babysitting seems harmless. A quiet house, sleeping kids, easy money, right? But once the parents leave and you're the one in charge, everything changes. Every sound feels louder. Every hallway seems longer. The little things start to feel wrong. It's subtle at first, just enough to raise the hair on your arms. But some nights, those small moments stack into something that you can't ignore. Something that follows you long after the parents come home. And these are those nights. In 2007, a friend and I was 17 and she was 15. We were babysitting overnight at a large split-level house in the middle of nowhere. We'd babysat there plenty of times. Usually it was for the family's little girl and her elderly grandmother, who was in a near catatonic state. She spent most of her days just silently resting in a recliner in the corner. But when we arrived that night, the parents told us that the grandmother had passed away a few months earlier, and that we'd be sleeping in her old room. They had repainted it, moved furniture around, and put a huge new bed in there. Definitely a huge upgrade, but still creepy nonetheless. It was better than the couch that we usually slept on. And yeah, it felt a little strange, but not enough to make a fuss about. For a while, everything was completely normal. About an hour before the little girl's bedtime, the weather shifted. The sky outside turned that sick, unmistakable tornado green. And a few seconds later, the sirens started. We barely had time to react before the patio furniture started slamming into the sliding glass doors, hard enough to shake the entire frame of the house. My friend and I stood there frozen for a second. Then I grabbed the little girl and ran down to the lowest level of the house. We waited there until the wind finally died down, probably 10-15 minutes, but it felt like much, much longer. When we came back upstairs, everything looked the same. The house was fine, but you could feel that heavy electric stillness that storms leave behind. We put the little girl to bed and went to the living room to calm down. We started doing crafts, talking too fast and laughing way too hard, the way people do when they're trying to pretend that they aren't shaken. Then it happened. Every TV and radio in the house turned on at full volume simultaneously, instantly, violently, like the whole house exploded with sound, static, music, voices, different noise from every single room. We panicked, sprinting around the house, turning everything off before the little girl woke up screaming. Room by room, device by device, the house finally went quiet, except for one. The last thing still blaring was an old wooden radio in the grandmother's former bedroom, the room we were supposed to be sleeping in. It was blasting a warped old song, the speaker crackling like it was struggling to hold on. My friend refused to go in by herself, so we walked down the hallway together and shut it off. The silence afterward felt like someone had dropped a heavy blanket over the whole house. We didn't even discuss the big bed. We grabbed the blankets and got the hell out of that room. We slept on the couches instead. The next morning, sunlight made everything feel almost normal again. So much so, we started trying to rationalize the night before. Storm surges happen, old wiring acts up, houses do weird things during severe weather. That's what we told ourselves. When the parents came home, we told them everything that had happened. The storm, the sirens, all the devices turning on at once, the old bedroom radio being the last one still screaming. The mom brushed it off immediately, but the dad didn't. He paused, then asked, "Which radio was it?" We told him, the old wooden one on the nightstand in the grandmother's room. He shook his head slowly. "That radio hasn't worked since Mom passed." I tried to explain it. Maybe the surge jolted it. Maybe it was briefly powered. He cut me off. "No, it doesn't have a cord. We removed it after she passed away." My friend and I both went still. He kept talking, almost reluctantly. During storms, she would panic. She couldn't yell or get up, so she would turn the radio or the TV up all the way so that we would hear her if she needed something or if she was afraid. He said it plainly, not dramatically, not trying to scare us, just stating a fact about how she coped. There was a long pause before he said the last part, the part that tied the entire night together. The night she died, it was a storm just like last night. Same sky, same sirens, same power outage. And in that moment, everything clicked. The green sky, the blackout surge, every device in the house erupting at full volume all at once, just like she used to do when she needed help. And that last thing that we turned off, the one still screaming after everything else had gone silent, was the dead, unplugged radio sitting beside the bed where she spent her final night alive. Just a house falling back into a pattern that it had learned through the years of someone helplessly trying to be heard. We don't know if we were dealing with a ghost, but one thing's for sure, we were caught in a moment that the house remembered. This happened about 20 years ago, so some of the details are a little hazy. I was in middle school, living in a quiet upper middle class neighborhood, in a small New England town where nothing ever happened. This is the kind of place where people rarely ever locked their doors, because why would they? I had just started babysitting, fresh out of a babysitting course at the local hospital, feeling proud, prepared, and honestly, way too confident. I put up some flyers, and a few days later, I got my first gig. It was only a 5-minute walk from my house, a nice family, 2 kids, an older girl, 8 or 9 if I had to guess, and a boy who was just a toddler. When I got there, their mom walked me through their bedtime routine and showed me around the house room by room. When we stepped into the little boy's room, she stopped. That's odd. Why is this window open? She shut it quickly, and her whole energy shifted. No more small talk, no more calm, casual tour. She hurried through the rest of the house and then told me to go hang out with the kids while she finished getting ready. A few minutes later, she comes rushing back in, grabs the kids, and hurries us all out of the room and down the hall, straight outside. I'm completely confused, but I'm also a painfully shy middle schooler, so I just follow along. Out in the driveway, she pulls me aside. She tells me that she went into her room after noticing the open window and realized that most of her jewelry was gone. Before I could even react, sirens. Not 1, not 2, a whole damn fleet. Around 10 police cars come flying into the driveway. Officers jump out with guns drawn, shouting orders, moving like something straight out of a movie. One of them tells me to go home, so I do. I was confused the entire walk back. Later, I found out what really happened. A burglar who had broken in the night before decided to turn a routine robbery into a sleepover. He was still in the house, hiding in the little boy's closet right next to where the mom and I had been standing, just moments before she realized that something was wrong. I really don't like thinking about how that night could have gone. If she hadn't noticed that open window, or if she left me alone there with her kids. Needless to say, that was both the beginning and the end of my babysitting career. I was 11 years old, babysitting for our neighbor, Cheryl, a woman in the middle of a nasty divorce trying to hold things together for her 2 boys. One was 8, and the other one was barely old enough to walk. She left that night, and she said that she'd be home around midnight. No details and no way to reach her. This was the 80s, so once she closed the door, it was just me and the boys. They fell asleep early, and the house got quiet. That deep, settled quiet that only shows up late at night. I was on the couch watching TV when it happened. A knock. Soft at first, unexpected, but nothing alarming. Then another knock. Harder, sharper this time, and then shouting. It was a man's voice, slurred and angry. "Cheryl, I know you're in there. Open the door. I'm not leaving." My entire body froze. I stared at the front door trying to make sense of it, when suddenly the 8-year-old came bolting down the stairs. "Daddy's home," he yelled, running straight towards the door. I grabbed him just before he reached it, pulling him back as he struggled. Outside, his father kept yelling, furious, rambling, and obviously drunk, accusing her of seeing someone else, which he wasn't wrong. He kept saying he was going to give her what she deserves. Then the footsteps changed. They became heavy and deliberate, heading back towards his truck. Meanwhile, the boy stopped struggling. He knew exactly what that meant. A moment later, he was back at the front door banging on it, pounding, threatening to shoot through the door if he had to, saying things like he would teach her a lesson and that he would make sure that she remembered it. And that was it. My 11-year-old instinct took over. I scooped up the toddler, grabbed the older boy, and ran through the kitchen, out the back door, across the yard, straight to my house across the street. My mom called the police while I tried to calm the boys down the best I could. The officers arrived fast, lights, sirens, everything. They approached Cheryl's porch cautiously, expecting an armed, angry man. What they found instead was him squatting on the porch, mid-meltdown, relieving himself right there on the welcome mat, like the night had completely broken him. They arrested him on the spot. The boy stayed at our house until Cheryl finally came home. She listened to everything, the threats, the gun, the police, the porch incident, and barely reacted. She just seemed disinterested. She gave a tired, detached shrug like none of it surprised her anymore. Then, by far, the worst part of the night happened. She told me she couldn't pay me because she'd lost her wallet at the restaurant. Classic Cheryl. Makes me think that just maybe she deserved that little parting gift left on her welcome mat.